Hello, beautiful people. Whether you are here live or on the replay, thanks for joining in. You can see I say welcome, introduce yourself, and feel free to put any questions in the chat or anything you would like support with. I'm going to hide that now. But please be sure to write in the chat anything you would like support with. So we can talk about it. I'm sure you're not the only one going through what you're going through. So today's topic got inspired by watching Kyle Cease. Have any of you guys watched Kyle Cease before? If not, his channel's great. He used to be or is a comedian, but now he's turned into kind of this awakening life coach, and he's just awesome. So I listened to his video today, and it was all about losing your mind. And I really like that topic. Because one of the things that they talk about with losing the mind is losing your story. So how many of us, let me see in the chat, let me see in the comments, how many of us have packed our stories in proverbial baggage, in the suitcases, and we keep pulling them into the present moment? How many stories do we have that we're telling ourselves and telling others when people are like, how are you doing? Or what have you been up to? Or are you okay? How many of us start with stories from our past, right? And so we're kind of hooked in. We're kind of hooked into our stories. And so stories and mental activity have a lot to do with each other. So, one of the things I put on Facebook today was, is your mind being overactive? Are you having this monkey mind and you can't stop it? It's a really common thing right now because everyone's minds are just working overdrive, trying to figure out what's next. Figure out if we're safe. Figure out like how we're going to survive, how we're, what's the best job to do? Should I travel? Should I not? Should I visit family? Should. And we're trying to figure it out from here. And, it brings me to the image of that movie, Megamind. Megamind, when his head's like this big and his little body's like this big. Megamind is all in his head. In this culture, we tend to be all in our head. And the culture, the collective at large and who's in charge, likes it that way because when we're in our mind, we're manipulatable, right? We can look at different sides, okay? Oh, we get pulled over here. We get pulled over here. I do it all the time. I'm on YouTube a lot because I'm, have my channel and I try to support other people or see what other people are talking about and try to, make comments and things. So I'm on YouTube a lot. This is my jam here. But what I'm seeing is, for everything that you want to find something for, you'll find the complete opposite. And it's just as compelling. So our minds, like there's scientific research to support anything that your mind can come up with. So it's a compelling argument. But what happens is when we start to go through the dark night of the soul, we start our awakening process. The idea is to lose our minds. Now, I have been someone that has worked with Alzheimer's, dementia, and memory care patients. So this is not to downplay that kind of thing. When we really start to lose our mind and our memory. But this is talking about, what I'm talking about today is losing our minds consciously, to really unhook from the stories. And sometimes, with working with Alzheimer's and memory care patients for 25 years, longer than that. Actually, it's been 26, 28 years. My first job out of college when I was 22 was on a locked Alzheimer's memory care unit. And so I've been around this culture a long time. And a lot of them have a lot of stories from their past. A lot of them can't remember stories from their their more current past. And sometimes I just wonder, vibrationally, if we think about law of attraction, when we start to really lose our minds from a disease process, what's aligning there? Have the stories gotten to be too much? Have we attached to the stories so much that we kind of need a break from them, but we don't know how to unhook? And so life gives us away. And it's Alzheimer's, and dementia, it's a pretty tough way, but it gives us away. So when we're awakening, we can consciously unhook from our stories, from our mind. We start to have the broader perspective that we're not our minds. We're not these stories. And how do we become completely unattached from these stories? We live in the present moment, the here and now. Put on those blinders. You know how the horses wear those little things? Put those on. And what if you were sitting here right now in this present moment without thinking about a future, without thinking about a past, right here, right now? Then what is there? There's sensation. I'm feeling a little hot. I've been having some hot flashes. What else is happening? My hair feels heavy. I'm happy to be on here. There's a wish right here, right now. There's 0 people watching. And if I'm honest, I'm like, right here in this now moment, I'm like, be fun to be talking to someone. But then that moment's gone. And here I am with the next moment. And as soon as I said it'd be nice to be talking to someone, I was with that feeling, and guess what happened? An awareness comes up. Now, an awareness sounds like a thought sometimes, but it's not. So awareness comes up, and I realize I'm not ever talking to no one. Even if there's that 0 on that screen that no one's watching right now, energetically, I'm always talking to someone. I'm always talking to disembodied beings who might be listening. I'm always talking to the universe, and I'll be talking to someone who's watching this replay. So the minute you name something in your present moment, you start to allow your body and your beingness to process it, and you create awareness for the next moment, and then the next moment. And this is how we live in the present moment with what is, with what we're feeling and sensing and aware of. But most of the time, what we're doing is we're living in the past, and we're trying to manage a thought process in our head. We're trying to manage how we're going to survive the future. We're trying to manage the trauma from the past, and we drag it into the present. The reality is that trauma is not happening anymore. That story is not happening anymore. Now, we could argue that past, present, and future, if there is some talk about how that's all happening at the same time of the present moment. So here we are. The minute you're like kind of talking about it, it's a past. So if we come here with our blinders, and if we're just feeling, we could say, I'm feeling a little anxious today. I feel my heart racing. I feel tension. So how much of our past has been deposited in our body? And so sometimes it's hard to unhook from the past because it's in our body, and our body's reminding us. But if we're not present in the present moment with our body, with the sensation, we don't get to have that moment of integrating and processing, right? There's a really good quote that came from this video that I watched today. Bypassing your feelings to have your past. What if you're bypassing sensation and feeling and awareness to be in your past? So again, let's get super present. You don't have to name the story. Even if you're feeling the repercussions of a past in your body or in your mind right now, you do not have to say the story and say what you're going through naming the story, because that's past. And the minute you attach your feeling to the story, it becomes a story again. You re-trigger the trauma, or you re-trigger. So it's kind of hard. It's kind of a different paradigm. But someone's watching. Let's see, introduce yourself. Who's here? I'm talking about getting out of our mind, losing our mind, losing our story, and get super, super, super present. So we can actually receive in the present moment. So I was just going through that little process of, are you bypassing the present moment's feelings and sensations and emotions to have your past story? The minute you link them up, you're living in a past reality and you're re-triggering your past. So to unwind from that, we are going to get super present and we're just going to sense. So what sensation do you have right now? Okay, for me, it's heat. Going through some heat. I don't know, it's hot flashes from just, here I am wanting to name it. Look at that, right? It doesn't matter. We don't have to name it. I'm saying this to myself, guys. Whoa! We do not have to name where it's from. Just name the sensation. Okay, I'm feeling hot. And just be with hot. A lot of times when we name it and we actually are there, I'm here. I'm witnessing you. I'm seeing you. I'm paying attention. We get the next awareness for the next choice, for the next process, for the next just freedom. Do you really want to be free? If you really want to be free and you want to step up your awakening and step up to a different paradigm and step up the joy in your life, the next step is to lose this mind. Shrink it down. And the moment you start noticing that you're thinking about the past, thinking about things, analyzing, get super present. Put those things on. Say, what am I sensing right now? Get out of your mind. Get into your sensing, feeling, awareness, emotions. Get down there. That'll shrink the mind. And it'll shrink the ego. So in our awakening journey, we're starting to tame that ego. We're saying, hey, buddy, get in the back. You're wanting your beingness to be the main driver, not the ego. And by focusing on the stories and letting that mind get bigger and bigger, you're telling the ego, like, you are the driver, not my beingness. What I want to talk about that keeps coming up in my mind is, or in my awareness, so is, what's the difference between the mind and awareness? So sometimes, like, the awareness, like, it comes up kind of like like a thought, and we think it's the mind. What's the difference there? You know, sometimes it's hard to tell, but as we are becoming more and more present, and as we become really diligent and committed to our awakening journey and changing the paradigm from what we're living with, you know, changing who's in the driver's seat, like putting the ego in the back seat, putting your beingness here. You know, all parts of our humanness are helpful and are tools. So we don't want to diss anything and say nothing's, you know, you can't have any part of yourself. That's not how this works. But you can say who's in charge and getting the ego back there, getting the mind to calm down. Now, I like the mind and awareness kind of work together. The thinking mind, the limited thinking mind, is different than an awareness that comes up as like words, as a message, okay? One feels like it's coming in like a breath of air into your field and you just kind of see it. You just know it and see it. The other one feels like it's like in here and you're working it. Feels like, ugh. It's just a different feeling. It's a different sense. So awareness is like, oh, there it is. And a thought is like, let me think this out. And you can tell because sometimes your eyebrows can start doing this. Your body responds to thinking, right? And awareness is just like, oh, your body actually doesn't really respond that much because it's coming in, it's floating in through your field. Whereas thinking is more in the brain and of the body, and the body's responding to like a tension. So guys, so that's how I see the difference. And if I like the terms, the whispers of the universe, that's kind of what awareness is too. Your mind that's more ego driven with its stories becomes more like, it's got to be done this way. It's right and wrong. It's good and bad. Like, you know, look at this, look at the pros and cons. That's like thinking. Whereas when awareness floats in, it's easeful. It's like a whisper from the universe. And it's saying like, you might want to mention this, or here it is. Like it's not forceful, right? It's your beingness having some awareness, and it's not going to be screaming at you like your mind is. Or if something's screaming at you and really wants like their agenda met, it could be egoic. It could be someone else's ego, honestly. It could be like a messaging you have from, you know, your old teachers or parents or something like that. It also could be an entity that's kind of sharing your field or body that wants their agenda for your human experience. And that's a whole nother topic. But let me know in the comments if you have that feeling that that's what is kind of yelling at you. That's what's activating your mind, because those entities can be confusing. But if they're using like, if you feel like you're being talked to, that's an entity. That's a separate being talking to you, and it's actually something else talking to you. It's not yours. So there's that. All right, beautiful people. So how do we lose the mind? We get super present. We tune into our sensation. We tune into the feeling, our body, and we just get super present, and we get super paying attention to it, okay? And we do not attach the stories to it. And as you saw earlier, it's very easy to start explaining the sensation you're having by giving it a cause and effect or a story. I just started to doing it with that hot flash I had, right? And it was so cool that I caught that, and it just really made this all make sense even more for me, and I hope for you too. But if you ever would like support, it is having a mentor and having someone reflect back how you're talking about things, and how you're living in the past, even though you don't think you are. Sometimes having that reflection, it can be really supportive. And so I do mentoring work if you need some support. But let's get into some sound healing. Let's get into just releasing some of this energy from the mind, okay? I'm going to do some alignment through sound with my voice. You're welcome to stay and receive this distant healing. Now, receiving comes from being willing to be present and being willing to open yourself up to your beingness. And the frequency that I'm singing from is that beingness that I'm connected to, source energy, sovereign source energy. So if you want to receive some of this to really calm your mind, get some inner peace, find that deeper sense of purpose, and find that deep sense of personal power, not from here, but from your awareness, from here. So here we go. Hmm. All right, beautiful being. We just put a little ripple, right? We just put a little rock into the water. Let it ripple out. Let it ripple out into your weekend. See if we can calm down the mind and really bring up the awareness and listen to those whispers of the universe and the whispers of the awareness within the present moment, unhooking from all the stories. Namaste. Come join me next Friday.